Hello, I'm Sifu Lamar M. Davis II. I would like to welcome you to the video series, Jun Fan Jeet Kune Do Complete. This is the most in-depth series ever completed on Bruce Lee's fighting method, covering everything from all three phases of Bruce's development: the Seattle phase, the Oakland phase, and the LA Chinatown phase. If you've already seen the first 6 volumes, then you're ready for the next volumes, which are covering energy and sensitivity training along with trapping hands. So this is the area that you commonly hear referred to as sticking and trapping. Okay, Bruce Lee placed a lot of emphasis on the sticking and trapping hands. And it is this aspect of Jun Fan Jeet Kune Do that draws most people to this art. In the next few volumes, we will cover, as in-depth as possible, all of the energy and sensitivity drills, the sticking hand movements, and the trapping hand movements that make Jun Fan Jeet Kune Do such a formidable fighting method. In the Seattle period, Bruce Lee taught primarily Wing Chun. It's Bruce's background in Wing Chun that gave him this incredible energy and sensitivity capability. His sticking hand skills were developed to such a level that there were very few that could even touch him during sticking hands. And as soon as the opening was there, he was on top of you so fast that there was nothing you could do. In the Oakland phase, the sensitivity drills broadened and flourished, and there was even more emphasis on energy and sensitivity. By the time the Chinatown phase began, the energy and sensitivity drills were developed to a very high skill level. Certain students during the Chinatown period were well known for developing a great deal of skill at the energy and sensitivity drills for sticking and trapping hands. Okay, it's very important that you understand that these energy drills are to help you sense, detect, feel the energy of your opponent. There are several different types of energy that you may encounter in a conflict. Now, the question that a lot of people have had about these energy and sensitivity drills is, what good are they? Because when you get in a fight with someone, you do not come up and engage hands and start to stick hands with them, or you do not come up and engage hands, as you saw Bruce Lee do with Bob Wall in Enter the Dragon, and start to fight. And you can't, of course, say, no, that's not how we're going to fight. You have to engage my energy before we begin. See, a lot of people, when they see these drills, they look at these drills in an unrealistic way. They don't see the practicality and the effectiveness of the drill because they look no further than what they see in the drill itself. The applications for these energy and sensitivity drills are many and varied. And it is these drills that take the skills that you learned in volumes 1 through 6 to the highest level. So, I hope you'll enjoy the second phase of the series, which covers energy, sensitivity, and trapping. Hello, I'd like to welcome you to Volume 9, Basic Trapping Hands. In this tape, we'll cover all of the basic trapping hand movements that you need to move on to advanced trapping and trapping from the Seong Chi Sao, or double arm sticking hands. Okay, a lot of you probably ask the question, what is trapping hands? Trapping is when you immobilize your opponent's limb, one or more limbs, using either your hand or your foot. Okay, you can trap with the legs too, although in this tape we're going to deal exclusively with hand trapping. Trapping is simply immobilizing. Okay, now to immobilize, you can either detain or you can completely shut down the opponent's movement. Alright, trapping hands is one of the primary elements that draws people to Jun Fan Kung Fu and Jeet Kune Do. Most of the trapping originated in the Wing Chun style of Chinese Kung Fu, And that's where most of the trapping comes from that we use in Jun Fan Jeet Kune Do. So, in this tape, you will learn about the basic trapping moves, the things that you need to learn to compound and to go on to heavier trapping combinations. Now, in trapping, there are several things that are very important to remember. It's what we call the rules of trapping hands. When we come back, we'll cover the rules of trapping hands, and then we'll get into some basic trapping. In this sequence, I'm going to discuss what we call the rules of trapping. The way I teach Jun Fan Jeet Kune Do, I emphasize to my student what I refer to as 10 basic rules of trapping. The first thing that you need to remember, the first rule, is that trapping is a byproduct of hitting. In other words, you do not trap just to be trapping. In other words, you don't go into a fight situation and say, I think I'm going to trap. Okay? In other words, you strike or you deliver the asking hand, and if you are deflected in any way, if you're parried or blocked, then that is when there's an obstruction on the line and you need to open that line. And trapping is used for opening the line. So in other words, what I'm saying here is that always trap when you have to, but never go into a situation planning to trap. Trapping is strictly a byproduct of striking. Okay, the second rule, trap only when necessary. Okay, we discussed that a little bit in the first rule, but we need to emphasize this. Trap only when necessary. Okay? All right, the third rule, the elbow is the key to controlling the opponent's center line. If you can control your opponent's elbow, you can control his center line, you can control the openings and closings on the line to make for a much more effective situation if you should have to use trapping hands. Rule number 4, ideally there should be a strike before and after every trapping hand movement. In other words, during a trapping sequence you should always be trying to hit. You're always trying to land that final blow so that you can go ahead and get it over with. Rule number 5, empty your mind and react to the opponent's energy. In other words, don't try to necessarily see or think about what you're going to do. Try to just empty your mind and feel the opponent's energy so that you react properly to whatever comes. Okay? In other words, don't go looking for it, just let it come to you. Rule number 6, when there is emptiness, strike. In other words, anytime during a combative sequence, during a hand exchange, when you get into a trapping situation, if all at once there's no opposing energy, that lets you know that there's an opening, there's emptiness. You can strike. Okay, so rule number 6, when there is emptiness, strike. Rule number 7, be prepared to re-trap if necessary. You never know how an opponent is going to react to an attempted trap. He may not do anything that any of your training partners have ever done before. In other words, his reaction may be completely different to anything that you've ever seen or felt. So be prepared to re-trap the limb. What I mean by re-trap is if your attempted trap fails, it may be necessary to put some more effort into it, to try to go further into it, to trap him. Okay, now of course, if his position defaults any possibility of a trap, then you simply go for the hit or the kick, whatever's necessary to get you in. So, be prepared to re-trap if necessary. Rule number 8, be prepared for the grabber. What I mean by the grabber is the person who, the opponent who, when you're engaged in combat with them, if you try to trap them and land a hit, all at once, boom, they grab you. What do? How do you react to that? Okay, we have specific drills that train you to react in case you're grabbed. And we'll cover those in the next volume, which is advanced trapping hands. But always be prepared for that grabber. Realize that you can be grabbed at any time. Okay, now what you may not be thinking about here, what you may not realize is that anytime somebody grabs you, they've actually trapped themselves. Because when they're holding on to you, they have eliminated the use of that particular limb which they have grabbed you with, whether it be the left hand, the right hand. When they grab you, they have eliminated their ability to use that limb for anything other than that grab. So, use that moment, use that time. Their grab can be the trap. Rule number 9, don't let things get overcomplicated. In other words, if you're engaged in combat with somebody and it goes into close range and you're in that trapping range, remember, trapping is the deadliest range because it's in the trapping range that all of the body's natural weapons can come into play. Trapping, some Jeet Kune Do fighters prefer to say that trapping is where the real combat begins. That's where the fight really starts. But never let it get overcomplicated. In other words, try to get it over with as quick as possible. If you go in there and you trap once and you hit and you have to trap again and you hit and you have to trap again and you hit, you trap 5 or 6 times and you still haven't landed a hit, maybe it's time to get out, regroup, and go back in again. So, don't let things get overcomplicated. Rule number 10, whenever you're in doubt, straight blast. This means that anytime you're in a combat sequence, when suddenly you get into that trapping range and you're in there and you're trapping and you're doing this and you're doing that and you're trying to, you're trying to come out on top and things just don't seem to be going your way, but you're in there right where you need to be, go right into the straight blast and just eat them up. Okay? So, when in doubt, straight blast. In the next sequence, we're going to cover what we call the asking hand, and we're going to cover what we call positions of engagement. In this sequence, we're going to talk about what we call the asking hand, or Mon Sao. We're also going to discuss the positions of engagement. The asking hand is simply a movement used to draw a prescribed response. In other words, if I throw a punch at you, chances are you're not just going to stand there and look at the punch come. You're going to move. You're going to do something. Something to keep from getting hit, or to try to keep from getting hit. It's the same way with the asking hand. When the asking hand comes at you, you're not just going to stand there and let the hand hit you in the face. Ideally, if you didn't block this, it would rake your eyes. Okay? So it's not just put out there just to be put out there. Alright. In this particular tape, there are 3 methods of executing the asking hand that we're going to cover. The first is the simplest. It's a highline execution of the asking hand. From the on guard position, I simply lunge forward, I bring the hand off the center line, and then I return to the line, like so. Not to be confused with the bilji or finger jab, which is a very direct execution from the on guard position. Notice that there's no variance off the line. I go straight up the line and into the eyes with the bilji or finger jab. Okay. The asking hand is not so direct. This is so that they have time to see it coming. They have time to react to it. Okay, now I close the gap with this asking hand. So, this asking hand is actually serving several purposes. It's a very deceptive way to close the gap. They're concentrating on the hand, not so much the fact that you've closed to within trapping range. Alright, so basic execution. From the on guard position, lunge forward, bring the hand off the line, and return to the line. Do this in an exaggerated manner so they have time to see it coming and they can react to it. Seen from the side, looks like so. Like so. Alright, that's one method. The other 2 methods of asking hand that we're going to show you involve lowline. The first method is very direct. Because it is so direct, we have to use what we refer to as a shoulder feint to draw a response, to let the opponent know that something is coming. So from the on guard position, I move the shoulder first. Normally in Jun Fan Jeet Kune Do we teach when you're going to strike, the hand is the first thing to move, no matter what. Whether it's a finger jab, straight punch, whatever, the hand is the first thing to move. Like so. Alright? This time, the shoulder is the first thing to move. That lets them know something's coming at them. Alright, from there, you bring in a direct downward center line strike as you lunge forward. This is somewhat exaggerated, just to emphasize what we're doing here. This should draw some type of response, like a low-line parry or a low-line block. If it were a karate practitioner, you might get some type of low-line block. If it's a Kung Fu practitioner or just a plain old street fighter or an inexperienced fighter, you might just get anything, just a vain effort to try to stop this supposed attack. Alright, as soon as you get the response, as soon as you get the contact, that gives you a stem. That gives you a position to work from. Okay, now remember that you've occupied a line. So if I'm coming here, I occupy the high line. If I'm coming here, I occupy the low line. Alright, seen from the side, this low line direct center asking hand looks like so. Notice the shoulder moving first. That lets them know that something's coming. You want to telegraph a little bit here because you're trying for a response. This is a feint. This is a fake. This is a way to see how they're going to react to your movements. The third method of using the asking hand that we're going to show here, once again, goes to the low line. This is more of a sweeping, more of a downward and then back upward type movement. This is an exaggerated version, seen from the side, from the on guard position. As I lunge in, I drop my hand, and then I simply swing it up and in. Okay, now they see this. This is very obvious, the hand dropping, and then it comes toward them. So they have time to react to it. Seen from the front, it's like so. The difference between this and the previous asking hand that I showed you is the fact that this one does not thrust directly in. This one swings. It drops down and it just swings upward. Okay, so this appears that you're trying to strike the groin. You're going for the opponent's groin. They think they're going to be hitting the groin. So once again, they're going to block or parry downward to try to stop it from making contact. At this time, I'll be joined by my assistant, Robert Curbo, and we'll show you how some of these asking hands apply in combat. On guard. Alright? The first asking hand that I'm going to do is the first one that I showed, involving a high line. Move in just a little bit. Okay, now from here, I lunge forward. I bring the hand off the center, and I return to the center. That gives him time to see what's going on. He sees it coming. He's got time to react to it. Another possible response would be from his rear hand. Always keep in mind that the opponent will not always do what you think they're going to do. This is, be prepared for the unexpected, in other words. You never really know. If he parried with the rear hand, it would look something like that. Either way, though, I got the initial contact. I got that stem that I was looking for. Okay? All right, so once again, from here, okay, notice how it's exaggerated. I leave the line, I return to the line, and I get the defensive response. Okay, we'll show it to you from the other side. On guard. All right, I'm here. I'm in the on guard position. I lunge forward. Notice that I'm out of kicking range. I'm out of hitting range. I lunge forward, bringing the hand off the line, and then returning to the line to get the response. Standard lead hand response here. Okay, now if he responds with the rear hand, it's going to look like this. All right, now we're going to speed it up a little bit, show you how it would look a little faster. Okay, this is how it would actually be executed. He's on guard, I'm on guard, we're in a fight. Okay, so it's a little bit quicker now. Move around. Okay, but still, you see the exaggeration. I give him time to see what's coming, I give him time to react. That gives me that stem, that initial contact that I'm looking for here. Okay. Next we're going to go with the direct low line asking hand. Once again, emphasizing shoulder first here. So he sees the shoulder move and he knows I'm coming at him. Then I drop it down. This is the most common response. Okay, this is the most common response. All right, so we're here. We're here. Okay, I'm breaking it down for you. 1, 2. All right, now, smooth it out a little bit. See, the shoulder moves first. It gives my intentions away. It lets him know that I'm coming, but still, it gets me the contact. It gives me that stem that I'm looking for. Another possibility would be if he were to maintain highline center with this hand and parry down on it with his rear hand, which would give me this. All right, still, I got the engagement that I was looking for. I got the contact that I was looking for. This gives me a stem to work off of. This gives me something. Notice that in every asking hand movement, the rear hand is on guard. That's whether I'm going to the high line or whether I'm going to the low line. The rear hand maintains a guard position inside the shoulder, below the chin. All right, show that to you from the other side. First the shoulder moves, little telegraph, little feint there, and then the arm comes in with the forward lunge to close the gap. Notice I can't kick, I can't hit him. I'm completely out of range. I'm just outside the fighting measure. All right, so from here to here. All right, of course, if I wanted to take a chance on getting a hit here, if I wanted to go for the groin here, which I normally wouldn't do because of the chance of being hit in the face on the way in, I would put the effort not to telegraph from the shoulder. I would go right from the on-guard position into the groin, okay? Now you say, I don't know if you could see that, but I was there just a split second before the parry got to me, okay? See, so if I move directly, even if he knows it's coming, if I move directly, see, I can get in there, okay? So what we want to do here, if you're using an asking hand and you're just out of range and you don't think you could make it in, and you don't want to try a dangerous shot like that anyway, move the shoulder, lunge in here. Now you've got the contact that you were looking for, and you're ready to go with the trap, okay? Other side. All right, now we'll go to the third one. Bruce Lee was fond of using this method of asking hand during the Seattle period. As he moved in, a lot of times he would use the closed by Jong position. This was the primary fighting stance during the Seattle period, and he would allow the lead hand to just swing around and in. Okay, from the modern day JKD fighting stance, it would look like this. Okay? Notice I get a little bit lower here, but I still get that engagement. I still get that contact I'm looking for. Now, of course, you don't want to stay in a wide stance like that. You don't want to just work from here. This is just closing the gap. If I were to execute this, actually intending to follow up with a trap and strike movement, I would not maintain this width. I would reclose the distance so that I wouldn't be quite so wide. So I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, okay? So see, I've once again returned to the standard width in my fighting stance. Okay, we'll show you that from the other side. From the on-guard position, I simply swing the hand down and in as I step forward, getting the contact, okay? Down and in. It appears that I'm trying to swing low and strike him to the groin. So of course nobody likes to get hit in the groin, so he's going to try to defend against that strike. And when he does, I get the contact that I'm looking for, and I can continue with a trap and hit movement if that's my goal in this situation. Remember though, your primary goal is to hit. But this asking hand is a way to get you in to hitting range. See, I don't have to trap. I can use that momentary opening to just strike. Okay? I could go here, boom, then hit him with a cross. See? So it doesn't have to be for a trapping application. Alright, so that's the third method of asking hand. The next thing that I'm going to discuss here is what we refer to as positions of engagement. First of all, what do we mean by engagement? Alright, we're not talking about, of course, an engagement in the soon-to-be married state of the word. What we're talking about is an engagement of the opponent's energy. That's when you first engage the opponent's energy. This is where what we refer to as a bridge is formed. So when you make that first contact, that's the engagement. All right, now there's several ways that an engagement can occur. I could be attacking my opponent and he could block. He could be attacking me and I could block. Okay? Or parry. Either way, we've made that initial contact and the engagement has occurred. Alright, there are several types of engagement. Okay? First of all, we're going to look at this right lead to right lead. Okay, there's a highline outer wrist engagement. Okay? That's right here. Okay, notice that the hands are open and we're just sort of on guard and engaged here. Somewhat resembling the position that Bruce Lee and Bob Wall assumed in Enter the Dragon. Okay? Now, one question that I'm often asked about this engagement position and executing drills from this engagement position, one thing that people often say is, yeah, but you're not going to just come up to somebody in the street and go like this and then start fighting. No. But if he were to throw a punch at me with his lead hand and I were to parry that punch, we end up right here. If I were to throw a finger jab at him and he were to block with his lead hand, we end up right here. Okay? So, that doesn't mean that we're going to just come up and start from here. That means that that is the point where I engaged his energy. Okay? That's the point where we first contacted. Once again, that could be from him attacking me or from me attacking him. Either way, we got the contact. Okay, this is what we refer to as a highline outer wrist to outer wrist engagement from matching leads. Okay? Alright, now, we could have a highline inner wrist to inner wrist engagement, matching leads. Okay? Some people like to block or parry across and go against the energy of the attack. It's somewhat unnatural, and we try to avoid doing that in Jung Fan Jeet Kune Do, but in some arts, you see that. So instead of blocking or parrying this way, he would go this way. Okay, so when I come in with my attack, he meets me here. There we have it. That's that highline inner wrist to inner wrist engagement. Okay? Or he could attack me, and I could parry him this way. And once again, there we have it, that highline inner wrist to inner wrist engagement. Alright, now, next thing we talk about is the low line, outer wrist to outer wrist engagement. Okay, this will be where I attack low and he blocked down, or he attacked low and I blocked down. Anyway, we ended up here. Alright, now, we use these engagement positions in drills to cut out all the wasted time, all the wasted movement, all the wasted energy in the drill. We just start from this pre-engaged position and the drill goes a lot smoother, and you can do twice, sometimes 3 times as many of the actual movement than if you started from outside range, closed the gap, punched, then trapped and hit. Okay? Instead, you just start from here, trap and hit. Okay? So, that's what we're looking for there. That's what purpose these engagement positions serve. Okay, now if he were in a left lead, and I've still got my power side forward, okay? Now we're in what we refer to as unmatched leads, okay? I'm in a right lead, he's in a left lead. This is unmatched leads. Okay, now, we have basically 3 positions of engagement that we work from here, okay? One is inner wrist to outer wrist engagement, right here. This could be where he punched at me, and I parried him here, okay? Like so. or I punched at him and he parried me there, like so. Okay, then we could have the highline outer wrist to inner wrist engagement here. Okay, this could be where he punched at me and I parried him here, or I punched at him and he parried me. Okay, but anyway, we ended up right here. All right, so that's the reason for this position. All right, the next position that we have is the low line outer wrist to inner wrist engagement, like so. Now, this would be if I were to attack low and he were to block down, or if he were to attack low and I were to block down. Okay, that's how we end up in that position. All right, now he could attack low and I could block him here, like this. See, this time we've got inner wrist to outer wrist engagement. Okay, like so. So, these are what we call the positions of engagement. Of course, there are more, especially when you bring both hands into play. If he were to punch here, and I were to parry, and I were to punch here, all right, for a split second, we've got a double engagement here. My parry has engaged his energy on his punch. His parry has engaged my energy on my punch. Okay? So, for a split second here, we've got a double engagement. Now, this requires some good sensitivity because you got to come up with some way to get out of this, okay? What comes to mind immediately right here is to use this hand to jut, this hand to do a Mon Sao or bar arm, while this hand counterattacks like so. So from here, right there, see? That would be one way. All right, another way would be to use a Jung Sao or pinning hand to pin this hand to this arm and punch here with my rear hand. So see, I'm in like that. So you got possibilities there. Then, of course, there's always the Jut Sao, which you saw in the previous tape, Volume 8, which covered the advanced energy and sensitivity, where we're doing the Jut Sao, where we're rolling here. See, this is another valuable point about the Jut Sao, or double arm sticking, is that it gives you some of these possibilities of engagement. So you got some variation here, and you can learn to move off of these double engagement positions. So, there's a possibility of single arm or double arm engagement. It could be here, 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 see? Okay, you got a lot of possibilities here. Alright, so, if we use these engagement positions, it greatly improves the efficiency of the trapping hand movements. These are what we refer to as the positions of engagement, where you engage the opponent's energy. All right, in the next sequence, we're going to cover what we refer to as highline, lowline awareness. In this sequence, we're going to talk about highline and lowline awareness, and we're going to talk a little bit about simple and compound traps. Okay. Highline and lowline awareness sounds somewhat complicated, but actually it's very simple. All we're talking about is the high line of attack and defense and the low line of attack and defense. Alright, normally if the low line is under attack and if the opponent is defending the low line, it'll create an opening on the high line. If the high line is under attack and the opponent has closed off the high line, chances are there's an opening on the low line. So all we mean by high line and low line awareness is that you should always be aware of the open and closed lines and the occurring opening and closing of the lines, so that you're always aware of where your next attack could be. Okay, Robert will join me now and I'll demonstrate a little bit of what I mean about this. Okay, if I attack here, alright, it's very obvious that the high line is now closed, okay? He's closed that off, but the low line is not, see? So I go here, he closes that off. Now, if I'm quick and if I'm aware of that, see, I can strike the target on the low line. Notice this is here, just in case he decides to try to come in with that. I've got a cover there. So, it's like, on guard, it's like I attack, he blocks, high line open, low line open. Alright, so high line open, high line closed, low line open, low line hit. Okay? Alright, so here, here. Now by the same token, if I attack the low line, he blocks down, high line is open. Okay? low line, I attack the high line, and in this case I use a trap. In this case I'm going to use a Pak Sao. So here, here. Now if he closes this off, okay, I've got to use another trap to gain an open line. Alright, now I could go low, high, and if he followed me with the same hand, low, high, boom. Low again real quick, chances are I'll get in. Alright, now when we take this in terms of trapping hands, alright, if I attack here and I deliver my trap here, see the trap removed the obstruction. So the line was closed, I opened it. Alright, the Pak Sao or slapping hand opened the line for the attack to land. Alright, now if I attack here and I go here and I attack here, he closed off the low line, so I attack the high line. Now if he closes off the high line with his rear hand, I trap again to remove the obstruction, and I'm in with my hit here. Alright. Now, if I attack the low line and go to the high line and he follows with the same hand, I can change real quick back to the low line. Chances are I'll get in. How about the same token, if I attack high, he blocks high, I attack low, he follows high. If I immediately go back, he's hit. Okay, so there we've got high, low, high. Okay? Now, in trapping hands, when you're in this close range and all of the body's weapons can come into play, it's very important that you're aware of these lines so that you know what to do. Now, if he blocked this, see, I've got to be aware of the closing on that line and the opening on another line. Now, if he somehow managed to block that, I've got to be aware that that line closed and I've got to take the opening on another line, see? So I've just got to react accordingly. Alright, that's high line, low line awareness. Next we're going to talk a little bit about simple and compound traps. To explain this to you, to make it very easy to understand, a simple trap is like one movement, okay? One move, that's one trap. Okay, Pak Sao, slapping hand. Lop Sao, grabbing hand. Okay? That's one move, okay? So that's a simple trap. Simple trap is any one move. If I attack low and he blocks low, I pop and hit here. That's a simple trap. Okay, now when he defends against the attack that I deliver with a simple trap, that's when we have to go into compound trapping. Compound trapping is any combination of two or more traps in sequence. Okay, so if I attack here, he covers. I attack here, he blocks that. Now I have to trap again. Okay, so now we've got a compound trap. We have Pak Sao to Lin Lop Sao. Okay? If I attack low, he blocks low. I hit high, he parries there. Once again, I have Pak Sao to Lin Lop Sao. But this time, the difference being the first attack was low. Then I've got Pak Sao, then I've got Lin Lop Sao. Okay? So that's a simple trap. Now if we're in opposite leads, and I attack the high line and he blocks here, he does an inside parry, okay, and I trap here and I hit, boom! That's a simple trap. That's what we call Lin Lop Sao or cross-grabbing hand. So that would be a simple trap. All right, now if he blocked this, when it came in and I had to use a Lop Sao or grabbing hand and I hit him here, that would make it a compound trap. So what we've got then is Lin Lop Sao to Lop Sao. Lin Lop Sao to Lop Sao. So that's where a simple trap becomes a compound trap. When the first trapping attempt, the hit is blocked or parried, and it becomes necessary to follow through. Now if he were to block this with his rear hand, which would be very hard to do considering that he's been torqued pretty hard, but it could be done. Then what I have to do, I have to take that into consideration, and I trap again and attack the open line. Okay, then it becomes an altogether different sequence. Okay, so a simple trap is any time that you apply one trap, you get in with a hit. That's it. Compound trap is a combination of any two or more traps in sequence. In the next sequence, we're going to start showing you some of the basic trapping drills. In this sequence, we're going to go into some of the basic trapping drills that we use in Jun Fan Jeet Kune Do. We're going to start out with what we refer to as the Mon Sao, or slapping hand. Okay, this is used to clear a closed line, to clear an obstruction on the line. Now, there are several points that are very important to remember about the Mon Sao. First thing I want to tell you is that there's a very fine line between what we refer to as a Mon Sao and what we refer to as a Jong Sao, or pinning hand. Okay? Now, a Mon Sao is simply a slapping hand. Alright, a pinning hand starts out like a Mon Sao. It slaps, but it literally pins the hand to the body. So, there's a very fine line between the definition of a Mon Sao and a Jong Sao, or pinning hand. Okay, we're going to start out with showing you what we refer to as the Highline Mon Sao. Now, there are two basic ways that we're going to show this to you. One is with footwork, and the other is without footwork. At this time, Robert will join me. We're going to start off showing you the Mon Sao without the footwork. We'll show you this from a couple of different angles so you'll get a good idea of what we're doing here. Okay, now, first of all, for this drill to be effective, you want to make sure that if he's just standing here, that your fist almost touches his face. What this means is that without footwork, if I really put my body into this, I could easily hit him. Okay, but for the drill, we use that position. Okay, now when I slap, I'm going to slap the heavy part of the forearm. Okay? When you deliver a Mon Sao, the closer to the elbow joint, the better. Because remember what I said earlier in rules of trapping, that the elbow is the key to center line control. If I can control his elbow here, I can control the center line. So, the closer I can deliver my Mon Sao to the elbow, even right on the elbow joint if possible, the better off I'm going to be. Alright? In a lot of tapes and in a lot of books, you see a Mon Sao demonstrated like so. Now, you see what Robert did? He was able to get around it real easy. That's what we call a Jao Sao. Okay? Also, when I deliver a Mon Sao this close, I have a tendency to push down. That acts as a springboard for his hand to hook right around and hit me. Okay, however, if I pop right at the elbow, it's much harder to run the hand. Okay, now, I'll start off by telling you this. The Mon Sao without footwork is what we sometimes refer to as a speed pop. It's executed very quickly. Now, the reason it's executed very quickly is because since you're not pinning the elbow to the body, they still have some mobility in that elbow. And you have to land that hit very fast to make this movement effective. Of course, most people have never experienced any kind of trapping whatsoever, and any Mon Sao is going to be better than no Mon Sao at all. So even a bad Mon Sao would probably work against someone with no previous combat experience that didn't know anything about trapping hands. So probably against 90 to 95% of the people that are walking the streets out there, even a bad Mon Sao like this would still get in because they would know nothing about the Jao Sao, or running hand palm, which can come up and slap you upside your head so fast that it's so quick that you really don't even know what's happened until after you've been hit. Okay, so when we're doing this without footwork, it's very important that we slap as close to the elbow as possible. All right, now I want to point a few things out to you. When you do a Mon Sao, you do not go like this. Sure, it slaps harder, it slaps, louder, makes a lot of noise. Okay, but that's not the purpose of the Mon Sao. If I did this, this is telegraphic. He sees it coming. What I have to do is go directly from the on guard position into the pock. I can't afford to pull back, okay? Because the way this is going to occur, I'm going to attack and he's going to block, and I have to continue through, okay? So it's got to be quick, and it's got to be from right there. I haven't got time. I can't go like that, okay? He's got time to turn and run away or disengage and come in and hit me with his lead hand. Disengage and come in and hit, see? Okay? So if I'm here and I come in and I punch and I rip back, he disengages and I'm hit, okay? So what I've got to do is, whoo, ah! See, it's got to be just like that. I've got to be in. It's got to be real quick. Okay, so when we do this drill without footwork, We're working from here, high line, outer wrist engagement. I'm going to explode from right here, right from the on guard position, and deliver the punch. Notice I slapped right at the elbow. Very important. Okay, now, my partner, at the time I pop, he'll work his cover, which is done with the rear hand. It'll be a light center line slap. So he's doing what we call a Wong pop, or cross slap, to work the cover. So he's practicing his parry, his defensive action, at the same time I'm practicing my trap. So once again, this is Pak Sao without footwork. Now this time we're going to exchange. This is what we call a trapping exchange. We're just going to go back and forth. Remember now we're going without footwork. Okay, also notice when I cover, again, I try to parry as close to the elbow as possible. Why? Because, once again, rules of trapping, the elbow is the key to center line control. Okay? So I could use my Pak Sao in defense as a counter to his trap. And this is one of the counter traps for Pak Sao that you'll see covered in the tape on advanced trapping. Okay, I'll show you that again just so you get some idea of what that would be like. Okay, my Wong Pak, or cross slap, becomes a trap, preventing him from hitting me, and I counter immediately. Okay, we'll show you this from the other side so you get a different angle on it. This time I'm going to let Robert lead off. Okay, this is the basic delivery of the Highline Pak Sao without footwork. Okay, now, when we go into the Pak Sao with footwork, if you saw the tape on footwork, which you should have seen it, if you didn't, you need to go back and get it because it's very important. Mobility is one of the important phases of Jeet Kune Do training, probably the most important. That's one thing that Bruce Lee emphasized at the beginning of every class. Mobility, footwork, footwork, and more footwork. It's very important. Okay, when I do this leg check, when we go with footwork, it's very important that I understand completely the footwork because I'm going to have to use a movement that we refer to as a push shuffle. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to step with the lead foot, pushing off with the rear foot, then I'm going to slide the rear foot up, like so. Now, what this is going to do, this is going to lead to what we call a leg check. All right, this is shin-to-shin contact or knee-to-knee contact. Either way, I know right where his leg is, so I check this leg. That's a very important part of the footwork when you deliver the Highline Pak Sao with footwork. Also, when you deliver Highline Pak Sao with footwork, your Pak Sao actually becomes the Jong Sao, or pinning hand. All right, so when we do it with footwork, this is what it'll look like. Once again, Robert's going to work the Wong Pak, or cross slap, as a cover with his rear hand. He'll do this very economically. Now, what I mean by economical is when he defends, I'll be pocketing his arm will be going this way. When he defends with this hand, he'll go no further than right here. He'll come just across the center line, or just to the center line, just enough to deflect my punch. That's what's important there. Anything more than that would be wasted movement, and it would destroy his possibilities of immediate counter by being able to control my center line. Okay, now watch this movement. I'm going to do it slowly a few times so you can get an idea of what it looks like with the footwork. Now once again, keep in mind, this is using the leg check. Alright, so from here, now I'm going to move my whole body forward. Everything moves at once. That's a very important thing to remember here. It's not like you do the step, then you do the pop, and then you do the punch. Notice how everything kind of got, my upper body kind of got left behind when I stepped first. Okay? And I don't do the pop and punch and then step either. What I want to do, I want to get the explosive motion from the push shuffle into the punch. I want everything to move at once. I want my whole body to go into this pop so that we get a good solid Jong Sao, or pinning hand. Notice how it sort of knocks Robert or rocks him off balance there. Okay, so from here to here. Notice everything goes at once. Alright, that's very important. Notice once again the leg check. Alright, slow a few times. Notice everything moves at once with no hesitation. All right, short T from the other side. This time we'll trade off a few. I'll let Robert start. Okay? So that's how it works with the leg check. All right, now we'll talk about the use of what's referred to as the closed Bajong position. Bajong, as you should know from the basic tape on footwork and mobility and the first tape on foundation structure, means on guard. So Bajong is on guard. That's the standard fighting position used in Jeet Kune Do. The position that you're most accustomed to is this position. This is what we call the open Bajong. This is the standard 50-50 weight distribution used in the latter years. During the Oakland period, the latter Oakland period, and during the entire Chinatown period, this is the basic stance that you would see, with slight variations in the hand position. Sometimes the lead hand would be carried a little bit lower. Sometimes the rear hand would be a little bit out to the side of the jaw instead of directly in front of and below the chin, center chest, inside the shoulder. Right, my favorite variation of this position is like so, with the rear hand inside the shoulder and the lead hand carried a little bit lower than the rear hand. All right, another Bajong position that you'll see is what's referred to as the open Bajong, lead hand low. If you've got the book, The Tao of Jeet Kune Do, you've seen this stance in the book. The lead hand is carried directly in front of the groin. It's open, the arm is bent, the elbow leads the body by about 3 inches, maybe a little bit more than 3 inches. The rear hand is inside the shoulder and open. The rear elbow is inside, covering the solar plexus. All right, this is the closed Bajong position, okay, or the open Bajong position, lead hand low. All right, seen from the side, the basic Bajong position used during the latter Oakland period and the entire Chinatown period looks like so, okay? This is open Bajong, lead hand high, okay? Now, if I want to go to open Bajong, lead hand low, the lead hand just in front of the groin, elbow leads the body by just a little bit here, about 3 inches, maybe 4 inches. Rear hand is inside the shoulder, open, rear elbow protects the solar plexus. Okay, so this is the basic open Bajong, lead hand low, 50-50 weight distribution, looking straight ahead with the head tilted slightly downward. All right, during the Seattle period, which was the early period of Bruce Lee's development, they were just starting to break free from the Wing Chun. They were still very, very strongly Wing Chun oriented, so they used one of the Wing Chun positions with a slight variation. This is what we refer to as the closed Bajong, okay? Instead of the feet straddling the center line goes right through the middle of the rear foot, and the toe of the lead foot touches the line. Instead of the weight distribution being 50-50, it was approximately 70-30 or 60-40, with most of the weight resting on the lead leg. The hands were in the standard Wing Chun on guard position like so. So this is the closed Bajong position used during the Seattle period. This is what it looks like from the front. This is what it looks like when seen from the right side. This is what it looks like when seen from the left side. Some Wing Chun practitioners refer to this as a sitting horse stance. It looks like so. Notice that most of the weight is on the rear leg. Okay, Robert will join me again, and I'll show you some of the practical application today of that Seattle Bajong position. Once I get within trapping range, I can apply the footing, the foot positioning, to free up some of the weight off my lead leg. This lead leg acts as a sensor here. Let's bring it back over a little bit. This lead leg acts as a sensor, making light contact with his leg. Now at this point, if I fail to land my head, if he parries me to the side, if he goes to sweep my leg, I can sense that, and I can stick to him and push him off balance. Okay, so this leg acts as a sensor. If he goes to sweep, I stick and push him off balance. Also, from here, I can apply what we refer to as trapping legs, which I'm not going to get into at this time. But there are several basic trapping leg methods. But this is basically how we use this early Jong position in trapping. It's real good to free up some of the weight off the lead leg so this lead leg can act as a sensor and so this leg can actually stick. Okay, thank you, Robert. All right, in the next sequence we'll be going into another basic trapping drill. We'll be covering the low-line Mon Sao, both with and without footwork. In this sequence, we're going to show you what's referred to as the low-line Mon Sao. And we're going to once again show this without footwork and with footwork. Now, just like before, on this Mon Sao movement, when you add the footwork, the Mon Sao actually becomes more of a Mon Sao, or pinning hand. Okay? And once again, with the footwork, we'll be using that leg check. All right, if Robert will join me now, we'll go right into this. Now, we're going to work this from a low-line outer wrist to outer wrist engagement. Okay, like so. Now first I'll demonstrate without footwork. Okay, now the way we normally do this is to present a target. Now you present that target just in front of the shoulder and to the side, to the outside of your head. Okay, now this is my target for my back fist. So I'll be going from here to here. Okay, now the idea is to hit with the flat of the hand against the palm. Okay, you're not going to try to snap your big knuckle into their palm and bruise their palm or anything like that, okay? So you want to consider your training partner's safety here. That's very important. So we use this hand as a target. Also, this is conditioning his defense, because if he were in the standard on guard position and I were to fire low and he would block and then I would go to high, see, that's where he would go to defend. He would use, once again, the Wong Pak or cross slap to defend. Okay, so he's going to hold his hand right here, just outside his head, leading the shoulder. He's going to present a good target for my back fist. Okay, now, if you'll remember from the instructional video on hand techniques, you'll remember that the back fist should be delivered with the elbow down. That holds true about 90% of the time. However, shortly we're going to show you when that doesn't so much hold true. But in this case, we're going to keep the elbow down on the back fist. We're going to hinge tightly from this low line engagement right into a high back fist. Once again, keeping the elbow down. Once again, without footwork this time. Okay, so we're here. Now, once again, start this drill where you're just out of hitting range. So you know if you really leaned into it, you could really pop them with this. Okay, so low line, outer wrist to outer wrist engagement. All right, from here, the pop, once again, landing close to the elbow. That's very important. As close to the elbow as possible so you can control his center line better. Okay, so we're starting from here as if I had punched low and he had blocked, or if he had punched low and I had blocked. Okay? Now this is what it'll look like. I'll demonstrate it to you a few times this way, and then we'll turn around and I'll go the other way. Okay? Keep that thumb up so I don't turn into your thumb jam. Alright, so we're working from here. Notice I retract the back fist quickly. Notice I don't just go and leave it out there. That's very important. All your hand techniques, you want to train them so that they retract quickly. You don't want to just go and leave it there. Okay? You don't want to get in the habit of that. Also, you don't want to lean forward like this. Okay? You want to shift your weight into the back fist. Okay? Like so. All right, show you that from the other side. Once again, low line, outer wrist to outer wrist engagement. Pocket as close to the elbow as possible. Fire that back fist with the elbow down. Hinge it tightly and whip it. Okay? Like so. All right, now we're going to demonstrate the same movement with footwork, once again involving the leg check. Okay. Same position of engagement. Same target. Okay, this time he's going to shift the target back just a little bit. He's going to reinforce it to keep the hand from getting knocked into the face. In other words, he's got to exert a little bit more energy into the target this time so that when I hit it, I don't drive it into his head. All right, so this time we're going to close the gap with the basic push shuffle and check the leg. As we come in, our Pak Sao is going to become a Gom Sao as it pins the arm to the body. Okay, here we go. Notice the leg check, shin to shin. Notice the Gom Sao, pinning the arm to the body, back fist hinges tightly and recovers. Of course, in reality, what we're going for is a hit where the back fist lands against the jaw hinge or the temple. The jaw hinge or the temple, okay? All right, so from here, okay, with footwork, notice once again, everything moves at once. It's not pop, hit, then step, or step, pop, and then hit, but everything moves together. Okay, like so. All right, now we'll show it to you from the other side. Once again, with footwork, checking the leg, very important. Once again, everything moves at once. Making sure that my Pak Sao lands on or as close as possible to the elbow, turning it into a Gom Sao, pinning his arm to his body. Notice how this pushes him off balance. Okay, thank you, Robert. That explains the basic low-line Pak Sao without and with footwork. In the next sequence, we're going to go into basic Lop Sao or grabbing hand and Lin Lop Sao or cross grabbing hand drills. In this sequence, we're going to cover the Highline Lop Sao, the Lowline Lop Sao. I'm going to explain to you what we refer to as rezoning for safety, and then I'm going to show you a Highline Lin Lop Sao, a cross grabbing hand. If Robert will join me now, we'll go into the Highline Lop Sao. Lop Sao means grabbing hand. Okay, now for the Lop Sao movement, we're going to work with Highline outer wrist to outer wrist engagement to start with. Okay, now a Lop Sao simply involves torquing the wrist. Okay, now as I torque the wrist, I start to roll his hand more across the center line. Okay, now at this point, when the blade of my hand contacts, I slide down his arm and grab sharply at the wrist. Okay, so it'll look like this. Shown to you very slowly. Like so. Now the next phase is to combine the attack, which is going to be the rear hand straight punch. Okay, now when you fire the straight punch, you want to fire it with a vertical fist, elbow down. And you're going to bridge. You should remember from the earlier tapes what bridging is. We're going to bridge right off of his arm as we punch. This will be very light contact here. That's to make sure that I feel right where his arm is, okay? That's during the drill. Of course, the actual idea behind the contact here is to pull him, fire straight into his face. So I'm pulling him into the punch, okay? Now, if I torque my body through fully, like I should, see where I go through to? So, it's always been said among Jeet Kune Do practitioners that if it were possible to execute a trapping movement with an attack that would separate somebody's head from their body, this would be the one that would do it. Because I'm pulling him into the punch. All right, now, when we work this as a drill, we punch past the head for safety. Now, sometimes we might practice punching past the head to the outside of the head, but most of the time we're going to practice punching to the inside of the head. Okay, now he's going to work his cover. Okay, execute the Lop Sao. Go into the lock position. Okay, punch. All right, now, choices of cover. I can use just the basic Wu Sao or protective hand, which is just my basic guard hand position. I can use Lap Sao or deflecting arm, which is here, or I can use Ton Sao or palm up hand, which is here. So, Robert's going to execute 3 lopping punches with a slight pause between each one. I'm going to demonstrate each of these. First, I'll use a Lap Sao. Then I'll use the Wu Sao. Okay, and then I'll use the Ton Sao. Okay, now I prefer the Lap Sao for simplicity. Okay, also this leads to being able to control his arm and counter. That's another reason that I like that particular movement. Another good thing about a Lap Sao here is that I can use a sliding leverage bilging right off of that Lap Sao and go right into his eyes, then go into a lop of my own and hit him with a back fist. Okay? So that's 2 real good reasons for using that Lap Sao or deflective hand for the defense here. Don't get Lap Sao confused with Lop Sao. Lop Sao is the trapping movement that you're seeing here. Okay, so now I'm going to execute the basic Lop Sao trapping move. Robert's going to execute any basic defense of his choice. We'll show it to you from this side, then we'll show it to you from the other side. Notice once again, I retract quickly. I do not just punch and leave my hand out here. It's very important that I retract quickly. Don't leave them a stem to trap. Okay? Very dangerous. Retract quickly. Punch past the head though, so you work your penetration. I don't like to see my students doing something like this. See, they've done themselves no good. They're not even going into the penetration range for the punch. I want them to go and actually punch past the head and bridge off of that arm so they feel it, so they know right where they are at all times. Okay, so we'll do a few more of these with Robert doing the defense of his choice, and we'll show it to you from the other side. It's very important to relax when you do these drills. Don't put any more energy into it than you need. That way you can go longer on the drills and you conserve your energy for the attack. Okay, show it to you from the other side. All right, that's the basic Highline Lop Sao. Now we'll demonstrate what we call Lowline Lop Sao. Now this is done from opposite lead. Okay? I'm in a right lead, Robert's in a left lead. We're going to engage his outer wrist to my inner wrist. So this would be like I punch low and a left lead opponent blocked down on it. Now, I'm going to go straight down my arm. Trap and back fist. Now you'll remember in an earlier sequence when I talked about the back fist, I explained that most of the time when we fire a back fist, it's delivered with the elbow down. This is one case where the elbow comes up because we have to clear the lead shoulder of the opponent. All right, so since I'm bringing my elbow up, I'm going to do what we refer to as a rezone for safety. I'm going to use a push shuffle, and I'm going to step to Robert's outside rear. Okay? I'm going to be to the outside of him and sort of behind him over here when I hit him with this back fist. Drop your hand. So when the back fist hits, I've created a zone of safety for myself. Because if I don't create that zone of safety for myself, and if he's real sharp and real quick, he's going to duck this back fist and smash me with his elbow right in the ribs. That's a very sharp blow, very painful, with the tip of that elbow coming right into the ribs. So of course you want to avoid that at all costs. So this is where the push-shuffle combination sidestep comes in to rezone you to a position of safety. Alright, so I'm going to do it slow a few times to let you see what it looks like. Once again, I come down my own arm, grab, back fist. At the same time, I combine that movement with an angular sidestep, and that puts me in a zone of safety where he can't use this elbow against me. Now he'll work his cover, which what he's actually going to do is present a target for me right here, right in front of his face. He's going to reinforce it with a little bit of muscle so when I hit it, I don't drive it into his face. Okay? Now I'm just going to be just whipping that back fist in there and just tapping his hand. Once again, retraction is very important here. You don't want to just go and just leave it there. Okay. Do a few slow, then we'll speed it up a little bit, then we'll short kitty from the other side. Notice my rezoning to his outside rear to create a zone of safety for myself. Now I'll speed it up a little bit. And I'll show it to you from the other side. Start off to a few slow. Notice the angular side step. Straight down the arm to the grab. Notice there's no wasted motion. No wasted energy. I'm going to give you a little bit of an angular view of it when we speed it up. Okay, that is the low line Lop Sao. All right, the next movement that we're going to show you is referred to as a Highline Lin Lop Sao. Lin Lop Sao is cross-grabbing hand. Okay, Robert. Once again, Robert's in opposite lead. We're here. He's engaged his inner wrist to my outer wrist. So this would be like if I had punched and he had parried inward with his lead hand, okay? My response is to cross grab and hit him with a back fist. So, I can do this from here, pulling him into me, or I can lunge into him as I rezone for safety. I can go either way. All right, watch the fine points of the movement once again. From here, I shoot through, as if to fire a sliding leverage bilging, like so. But instead of falling on through, I simply bring in my Lin Lop or cross grab. So I'm here, okay? Just right there. Notice the movement. Let's get a little closer, okay? Notice the movement. Okay, see what we're doing there? Shoot through, grab, pull him across the center. fire the back fist. Okay? Now we'll execute that slowly a few times, then I'll speed it up. Notice how I'm pulling him into me with my Lin Lop or cross grab. Notice how I turn my waist into the grab, okay? Into the grab to pull him. Okay, now I'll speed it up a little bit for you. Okay, we'll show you that from the other side. Once again, notice how I torque my waist into the grab to pull him into the back fist. Now I'll speed it up a little bit, give you an angle on this so you can see it a little bit better. Okay? Thank you, Robert. That explains the basic Highline Lin Lop Sao. In the next sequence, we're going to show you what we refer to as a Highline inner pock and a Highline inner lop. Okay, in this sequence, the first thing we're going to show you is called a Highline inner pock Sao. Okay, if Robert will join me now. Okay, we're going to be in opposite leads now. Okay, we're going to be here. Okay, now this is as if I had punched and he had parried to the inside, or if he had punched and I had parried to the outside. Now this is the Highline inner pock. Okay, now this is kind of unusual. Now a lot of people don't like to use this trap. This is another speed trap. It's got to be done quickly. A lot of people don't like to use it because at this time they feel that they're somewhat exposed to the rear hand, which they have to be ready to go with something else or they might be in trouble. Okay, so it's good to include this in your drills though, just to have an understanding of it and to know that it does exist and it can be used. Alright, now, since we obviously can't go to the elbow, we're going to go as close to the elbow joint as possible. So we're going to get the heavy part of the inner forearm. That's where we're going to hit with this pop. So from here, right there. Okay, that's what we got. Okay, now if he chooses to block my punch with this, of course that's going to be compound trapping, but that's something that could very easily occur from this position. If he chooses to come across and try to block me, I just go lop and hit him there. Okay, so now we got that. Alright, that's just a preview of some of what you're going to see in advanced trapping hands. Okay, so the basic movement that we're looking at here is my outer wrist engaged to his inner wrist. I'm executing the trap from the basic by Jong or on guard position. Punch comes in. Speed it up a little bit for you. This works better if a movement has occurred where they're exerting pressure. Like if he tried to fire a hook punch and I stopped it here and went here. Because then the energy is loaded there. So he comes in, I stop, boom, then I go in. See the difference? Hear the difference in the pock? See? The energy is there. Alright? Now see, I'm in a real good position to do some really neat things to him from there too. Okay, so once again, from here to here. Alright, now, the Highline inner lop is a very simple movement. From the same starting position, I simply rotate my palm downward, Okay, as the blade of my hand comes into contact with his arm, I slide down the arm, grab at the wrist, punch with the opposite hand. Okay? So I'm here, I'm here. All right, now, when I grab, it's very important. Let me show you this from the other side. When I grab, it's very important that I keep my elbow down. Because if I raise my elbow, I'm exposing my ribs to his lead leg kick, which is not a good thing to do. Okay, so from right here, I turn, lock, and punch. Notice how my elbow is still down. Notice how I don't go here, but here. Now I want to slide down as far as I can so I get a good secure grip on the wrist. Now, some people don't like to do this movement either because they say it leaves them open. But what if I fire a finger jab and he parries from outside to inside against the finger jab? Now see, the energy's there for it. It's like it's just loaded up. Of course, I could also shoot a sliding leverage bilgee and then lock here and hit him here, and then come in here, and then lock his arm out and tear his shoulder out with a knee. See, once again, we're getting into advanced trapping, and I'm not supposed to show you that yet. Okay, so from right here, interlock and punch. Now, if he were to parry here this way, boom! See, once again, got him. All right, so from here, torque the wrist, slide down, grab, keeping your elbow down as much as possible, and punch straight into the face. All right? Very simple. That's the Highline inner Lop Sao. So you have Highline inner Pak Sao and Highline inner Lop Sao. Thank you, Robert. In the next sequence, we're going to show you what's referred to as the Jut Sao, or jerking hand. In this sequence, we're going to demonstrate to you what is referred to as Jut Sao, or jerking hand. Jut Sao is normally a movement that's used in compound trapping sequences, but it can be applied singly as a lead-in trap for a technique. Jut Sao is best used when an opponent in the opposite lead blocks or parries from inside to outside with a great amount of force, and you feel the force when he contacts your incoming attack. And you can use that force to execute the Jut Sao, or jerking hand, and you can fire either a rear hand attack, which would normally be a rear hand straight punch, or you can spring load and attack with sliding leverage with either a bilgee or a chung choi. Bilgee being finger jab, chung choi being vertical fist punch. Okay, at this time Robert will join me and we'll demonstrate this Jut Sao movement to you. So Robert's going to be in opposite lead. Okay, now we're going to start this like so. This is as if I had fired a punch. This is as if I had fired a punch and Robert blocked from inside to outside. So we end up here. So when we do the drill, the person executing the Jut Sao will be engaged with their inner wrist to the outer wrist of their training partner. Okay, now the first one I'm going to show you involves a simple jut or jerking hand with a rear hand punch. Okay, so the jut is just a real quick hooking action using the fingers. Just a sharp downward snap using the fingers. Now, you should always be ready to go right off of that. Whoops, should I do some advanced stuff again? You should always be ready to go right off of that with something else. And if you block this, I've got to be ready to go with something else. I'm not supposed to show you that now. All right, so from here, I simply use my fingers like a little hook, pull arm down just enough to clear the line to land my straight punch. So I'm here. It's a good idea to ask your partner to give you a little bit of resistance here, because remember, this is like he's throwing a punch and he's blocked. Now if he's going to block this punch, he's going to have to put a little bit more in there than just flopping the arm up. So get your partner to give you a little bit of a spring load here. So when you jut, you fire that punch right in there. So once again, from here, jut and punch. All right. Another way that I can use the Jut Sao is with what we refer to as sliding leverage. I jut it down, I get the spring load. All right, now I spring right off of that and slide right up his arm. I just use this arm as a runway. straight to the eyes, okay? So I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. I just use that arm as a runway, straight to the eyes. Okay? I can also straight punch here, or chung choi. Like so. Now I'll show it to you from the other side. Once again, the jut, just a quick hooking action of the fingers. Sharp downward jerk with a quick hooking action. Okay, first with the rear hand straight punch. Okay, speed it up a little bit. Then with the sliding leverage, I jerk, I slide right into the eyes with a field Jeet or finger jab. Or a straight punch. Okay. That is the basic application of the Jut Sao. In the tape on advanced trapping hand techniques, we'll go into compound trapping, and you'll see how the Jut Sao is applied in a compound situation. That's when it's most effective. In the next sequence, we're going to show you the Jao Sao, or the running hand palm. In this sequence, I'm going to demonstrate what we refer to as a Jao Sao, or running hand. Now, this has been shown to you before in the hand technique tape as a hooking palm. This is just a real quick hooking movement with a palm. Now, you can go low with this, you can go high with this. Low, high. The low movement is designed to slap the groin. The high movement is designed to strike the jaw hinge or the ear. Okay. Also, if the opponent would turn to the side, you could strike into the nose with the palm. At this time, Robert will join me and we'll demonstrate how this Jao Sao comes into play in a trapping situation. If Robert were to fire a punch and I were to block his punch here, I could use sort of a Pak Sao movement to momentarily retain his arm. I'm not going to try to move him heavily like I would with a normal Pak Sao. I'm not going to try to do that. I want to be able to execute this, what we refer to as a running hand. Okay, so I'm just going to touch lightly, and I'm going to hinge very tightly and circle and hit with the palm. So this is just a tight circling palm. This is also what we refer to as a large disengagement. There's another movement that's called a Mon Sao, or circling wrist. That's a small disengagement. I can use that to get from outside to inside, or from inside to outside if I need to. Such as in a case where if he fired a punch and I parried it here and I needed to go to the outside for a lop sao, or if he parried a punch, or if he punched and I parried it here and I needed to go to the inside to press him. Okay? That would most likely be used against a rear hand. If he came in here and I was rear hand punch, and I was here and I needed to go in here. Okay, so that's that small disengagement of Mon Sao. Our main concern here, though, is the large disengagement. The reason we call it disengagement is because this hand takes over with contact and you disengage the energy of your initial contact. Now, notice the tight hinging action from the elbow. Nothing is wasted. There's been some doubt shed upon the effectiveness of this punch. Robert's going to get a focus glove, get one of the KI focus gloves, and we're going to demonstrate the effectiveness of the Jao Sao palm, or running hand. I'm going to show you just how powerful this strike can be. Most people think of it as just a slap, but it's not just a slap. It's a very powerful strike. Now I'm going to start as if I were engaged with someone's arm, and then I'm going to bring the palm in just as I would if I were using it in a combative situation. And I want you to notice how hard this palm strikes the glove. pretty hard for just a little circling palm movement, right? Okay, thank you, Robert. It's a very hard strike. So you can actually break somebody's jaw or burst their eardrum with that strike, and it would break a nose real easy. Okay, so once again, from here, just a real tight curve on the disengagement. Now, when we work this in drill, he's going to work his Wu Sao, or protective hand, and I'm going to use that as sort of a target with my palm. So we're here. Now, I can also move in and check the leg with this. Now, an application of this would be, and this would be if he didn't bring his rear hand up, because if he brought his rear hand up, I would have to do something else. But if I got in with the Jao Sao and I moved in close, what I would use it for would be to go into a side strangle type movement. Okay? So from here to here, did you hear that? When that forearm hit, then right into the side strangle, making for a very effective use of the Jao Sao also. Okay, basic use. From here, you check the arm with a light, quick pop and run the hand. Notice how close I maintain my elbow position to his arm at all times. See, there's no wasted motion. See it from the other side? Once again, no wasted motion here. Okay? All right, now another application would be the low palm. Okay, so I'm doing the high Jao Sao now, here. The low Jao Sao, okay, from here I disengage and slap low. Now this is designed to go to the groin. Okay, so I'm here, I disengage, and I go low. Okay, so to give you some idea of what I'm doing. Of course, I'm not going to slap the groin. We all know how that feels. Okay. Once again, instead of high line, we go low line. Okay, so if we were closing in, bam, we slap the groin. Okay, from there, boom, we can fire a shovel hook, or we can come off of there, boom, then we'll do just a short, quick back fist, boom. See, then we go here, boom, then we hit with a hand. See, so there's all kind of follow-ups waiting from there, and it just flows. See, it's like, bah, bah. See? Just flowing one thing right into the next. Alright, so that's the basic Jao Sao. I'll show you a different angle on that so you can see the elbow movement a bit more effectively. Notice how no wasted motion, no wasted energy. Whether I'm going high or low. Notice also the ability from here to go immediately in here, here. If he blocks that, here. But once again, that's advanced trapping, and I can't show you that yet. Thanks, Robert. All right, in the next sequence, we're going to demonstrate what we refer to as Jut Sao. In this sequence, I'm going to demonstrate a very little used movement in Jeet Sao. This is a movement that comes from Wing Chun, as most of the trapping movements do. It's referred to as a Jut Sao. Now, Jut Sao is the elbow lifting hand. This comes in from underneath and slaps the elbow, raising the arm up, exposing the ribs to attack. If Robert will join me, we'll demonstrate the Jut Sao and show you how it works in combat. Okay. Once again, from the Highline outer wrist to outer wrist engagement, I come straight up, slap the elbow from underneath. Now the shock from this can lock out the arm and jolt the arm and create quite a bit of pain with just that single movement. But the most pain is going to come in when my lead hand, when the big knuckle crashes into his ribs right off of the Jut Sao or elbow lifting hand movement. So from right here, notice the tight hinging action of the elbow as the fist fires directly into the ribs. Notice I'm showing you this without the Jut Sao movement now, so you can get an idea of the path. Notice I hinge, I line up, boom, then I thrust straight in. All right, so from here, right there. Okay, notice I just slap it up, boom, and I'm in. Now from here, see, I could come in with something else. Okay, short T from the other side. Engage. This would be as if I punched, he blocked, boom, see, right there. I lift the elbow, exposing the ribs, and I attack. Now if he were to block down with this hand, then I could apply the Jao Sao and hook in here. Then I could slide in with a punch here. Then I could headbutt. Then I could knee smash, okay? But I'm not going to show you that yet. All right, so from here to here. Okay, thank you, Robert. That's the movement that we call Jut Sao, or elbow lifting hand. In this sequence, we're going to demonstrate what we refer to as energy change trapping. This is where a situation dictates a certain trap, and you go for that particular trap. You try to execute that particular trap, but all at once something's wrong. The energy has changed. It's like the opponent is resisting the possibility of you gaining that trap. They're not going to let you trap them. All right, so you have to have something to immediately compensate for that energy change to allow you to complete your attack and take over the situation. In the following sequences, we're going to show you 5 of these energy change movements. Now there's a possibility of more than 5, but we're just going to show you 5 to give you a basic idea of what the energy change is all about. Okay, now where the term energy change comes in, of course, is the fact that your opponent is changing the energy. He's not allowing you to get that particular energy that you're looking for. So it's like you feel it and then it's gone. But you can't just freeze up, because at the moment you freeze up, if your opponent picks up on that, bam, you're hit. So you've got to maintain your cool and respond according to what you feel. Now Robert will join me and we'll demonstrate some of these basic energy change traps. The first one that we're going to show you is what we refer to as Pak Sao to Lop Sao. All right, now, the most common resistance to a Pak, of course, would be I'm wanting to push him this way. So what would be the most common resistance for that? It would be, of course, for him to try to push me this way. Okay, so if I try to execute a Pak Sao here, and he pushes, I feel that resistance. It's like I feel the resistance, so I've got to react to that immediately. I've got to change up. So from here, I go for the Pak. I feel that I can't get through, so I don't try to complete my technique. If I try to complete a Pak on bad energy, especially in a situation like this, I'm going to get something like this. See? Just messes everything up. Alright, so what I do is when I feel that the Pak's not going to work, I lie. Because if he's pushing this way, why don't I pull him and help him? Relatively simple, huh? We're here, we're here, we're here. Show you from the other side. Okay? I pop, I can't get through, I lock. See how it pulls him right into the punch? That's what you're looking for. You want to pull him right into the punch. Right there. From here, but I can't show you that yet. Alright. Pak. I feel that I'm not going to get through, so I just stop it right there. That's what we call an interruption, okay? I interrupt my movement, then I do what we refer to sometimes as a retrap. Remember I said in the rules of trapping, be prepared to retrap? Right there. That's a retrap. Okay, the next one that we're going to show you is lock to pop. Alright, if I try to pull him, since I'm trying to pull him this way, what would the most common resistance be? It'd be for him to pull back the other way. Alright, so if he wants to go that way, I'll help him. Okay, that's where the Mon Sao comes in. Alright, I lock. I know that if I try to complete my punch, his arm's going to be in my way. I know I'm going to be in trouble. So I immediately change to a pop, and I'm right in. Okay, right there. Short T from the other side. Notice I'm using the push shuffle footwork. I'm coming in and I'm checking the leg. That's very important here. Okay? Alright. The next one that we're going to show you is Mon Sao to Jao Sao. Alright, if I try a Mon Sao, and once again I get this outward resistance, okay? I don't have to go with the lop, especially if he's pushing more to the outside. The lop is if he's pushing more toward me, okay? This time he's pushing more to the outside. Okay, so when I feel that, I immediately do a Jao Sao, putting me right into the jaw or the ear. Okay, right there. Alright, this puts me in position for Man Ging Sao, or neck pulling hand, which I pull him in there. Alright, showing it to you from the other side. I go for the pop, he resists with outward resistance. I feel that. I immediately go to Jao Sao, striking either the jaw or the ear. Okay, that's how that one works. Alright, the next one I'm going to show you is Jao Sao to Mon Sao. What if I attempt a Jao Sao? Okay, since I'm coming this way, the most obvious resistance would be to go that way. Alright, so what I do, I convert my pop into a gom and push him in and hinge from the Jao Sao position right into a strike. So what we have is pop, Jao. Now see, I get that pressure against my Jao, so I go to Mon Sao and hit him with a back fist. Okay, short T from the other side. Okay, notice how, boom, right in. Okay, the next sequence that we'll show you is Mon Sao to Lop Sao. Okay, remember earlier we showed you on the Mon Sao with footwork, when you close the gap and press the arm into the body, the Mon Sao becomes a Mon Sao, or pinning hand. Okay? Alright? What if he backs up? Okay? If I'm pushing for the pin, the easiest thing for him to do to resist the push would be to just back away. Alright, so as soon as I feel him back away, I know that the Mon Sao is not going to work. And I know that I'm probably going to be out of range for a hit right from where I am. So I immediately change the energy and go from Mon Sao to Lap Sao and pull him right into a rear hand punch. Okay, so what we got now is right there. Notice if, by some chance, when you go for the gong and he drops back, if you go for the lop, and if his position causes you to slip off, this hand still acts as somewhat of a cover as you can fire this hand in and prepare for a follow-up. All right. Okay, short T from the other side. Okay, that's the final energy change trap that we're going to show you. Thank you, Robert. This has been Jun Fan Jeet Kune Do Complete, Volume 9, Basic Trapping Hands. I hope you've enjoyed this tape. Trapping is probably the area of Jun Fan Jeet Kune Do training that I like the most. That's what originally impressed me the most about this art and drew me to this art from other arts that I had been training in. In the next tape, which covers advanced trapping hands, we will go deep into compound trapping. As you know, earlier in this tape I talked to you about simple traps and compound traps. Advanced trapping basically consists of compound traps. So we'll be going into 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 trapping movements combined to eventually land a hit. Of course, remember the rules of trapping, and remember that there should be a strike before and after every trap. That's very important. Because if you can ever land the first hit in a trapping sequence, you should be able to end it from there. The trapping should be over with and the striking should take over. Of course, you can always remember this, that in a case of confusion or when in doubt, you can always straight blast. All right. I'll look forward to seeing you in Volume 10, Advanced Trapping Hands. If you're interested in the United States Jeet Kune Do Alliance, which is my organization, if you would like to become a member, you can write to me, Sifu Lamar M. Davis II, at 267 West Valley Avenue, Suite number 223, Birmingham, Alabama, zip code 35209. Or you can give me a call, area code 205-664-5625. If you would like more information, please send me a self-addressed stamped envelope with 2 29-cent stamps. And I will send you some information as soon as possible. I've enjoyed working with you in this tape, and I look forward to working with you again in the next volume, Advanced Trapping Hands. Thank you.